You have a flat tire, okay? You can go, oh crap, I'm gonna be late for work and this always happens to me. And why do I have to do this? Now I'm gonna have to spend the money. Or you can go, I had a flat tire, let me change it. Which one's gonna get you there quicker? And it sounds a bit insensitive, but I will tell you, that is where you fear less. That's where you start to get the solutions and you start to become what I call optimistic. And optimistic doesn't mean that every cloud has a silver lining or every glass is half full. Optimistic means that you observe that you have more options, other options to do. And when you start to do that, you start to practice that, then that becomes your default.
Greetings and welcome to the Dr. Espen podcast. I'm your host, Espen. Today, I'm joined by one of my personal heroes, a gentleman that I've seen present on stage in front of thousands, and I mean more than 10,000 people, a man that's a specialist in understanding how the brain works. And today's conversation is going to be around exactly how to do that, how to rewire our nervous system, rewire our brain for peak performance and excellence. This is Joseph McClendon III, a renowned neuropsychologist specializing in ultimate performance with clients from anything from Academy Award winners, Olympic athletes, Grammy winners, billionaire business figures, and so on and so forth. Joseph has spoken, as I mentioned, in front of a lot of people, over 6 million people now around the world, alongside Tony Robbins and many other incredible leaders such as Les Brown. He's a New York Times best-selling author, and he has earned the opportunity to present and teach at Harvard University, University of California, and many other places. What I'm excited to discuss today as well is not just the science behind Joseph's work, but I mean, if you can see this now, this man is 71 years young, and I say he is fitter than most of the 30-year-olds I know. So we're going to have that conversation because whatever you're doing, sir, it's working. So I know your life work has taken you all around the world, and we want to talk a little bit about neuroencoding today. I know the methodology that you've created. You're certifying people around the world, and I love your message as to how to dare to be bold. And to be bold means to achieve magnificence, to be magnificent. So firstly, Joseph, welcome to the show. I'm excited to have you here, man. Let's go deep. How are you today?
I could not be better, my friend. Thank you so much for having me. And as you said, I'm 71 years old today. So
today,
I'm spending my birthday doing something that I enjoy doing, which is putting the best message in the world out there to help people go further, faster.
Brother, if I get to look like you, and I'm confident that I will with how I'm going when I'm 71 years young, I'm doing something right. So just, the joy in your smile, you step on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, and it's not just the message and the wisdom, but it's the energy that you bring, the joy, the vibration that you bring. I remember when you first stepped on stage, I'm like, this is awesome. And I got such a great feeling through my body. So I want to say thank you. Happy birthday. And tell us a little bit about how does one get from wherever they are to achieve something towards what you've achieved. I mean, to look like you at 71, man, that in itself would be awesome, let alone the people that you've influenced around the world. Where does one start?
Well, first, I'll thank you for the kind words. And I will say the foundation of everything that we're going to talk about and everything that I do, I like to say that it is process over knowledge. And what that means is that you can know something, but if you don't do something to get the results that knowledge, promises you, then nothing's going to happen. And so whether it is speaking on stage, whether it is having ultimate health, whether it is making money, all that stuff, there's a process to get people to do or default to doing versus just knowing. I always say that, for example, people that want to lose weight, they don't lose weight, not because they don't know how to lose weight. I say just quit putting so much food in this hole and you move your body and you will lose weight, period. It's physics. But they don't do what they know. And so for all of those things that I talk about, that is the foundation, is having a process to be able to shift your psychology so that it supports the activity that is going to be necessary to get the results that you want.
Oh, this is big. So why don't people do what they know?
10 things. There are what I call these the toxic 10. Now, every single one of them has subsets, but I like to make things very, very simple. There's 10 things that stop us and 3 things that help us go further, faster, if you will. The 10 things are, and here's what I do. Anybody that's listening, as I go through this list, just maybe do a thumbs up or something and go, yeah, that's me. When any one of these hits you, okay, here they go. The toxic 10, procrastination, hesitation, fear of failure, fear of success, self-doubt, self-loathing, imposter syndrome, stress, overwhelm, and fear of rejection. Those are the things that if you're a human being, self included, we all are hindered by those things. We all, at some point in our lives, have at least one of those things, if not a combination. I say we all got them. We've got them all. They're all, encased in this thing called fear. It's somewhere in our lives. We have those things, and we talk ourselves out of doing things. We talk ourselves into doing things. It's all based on how we think. All of those things are fear-based. And when you have a process to be able to go in and mitigate those things, not just in the moment, but mitigate them so that becomes your default. That's what I call neuro-encoding, to encode yourself so you default to the antithesis of those things so that you wind up doing the things that you, like I said, that are conducive to the outcomes that you want to make happen.
I love this. It just reminds me somewhat of the 4 stages of competency. Firstly, we don't know that we don't know. And so we don't know, how whatever the habit is creating or whatever it is. And then we find out that we don't know. So that's, the second stage. We become aware that we're not that, empowered or conscious. And then the third stage is now we're becoming competent because we're changing it. And then the fourth stage, which is, unconscious competence, we are now we've created such a pattern that we're not even aware of how empowered we are. Is it similar to that neuroencoding?
It is. And to be more specific, the place, because the unconscious incompetence, and then the conscious incompetence, and then the conscious competence is where the sticking point is. When you know that you need to change, that's when you come face to face with the toxic 10. When you know you need to do something, but you don't want to do it, you're scared to do it. You do something else. Like you need to lose weight. And I use weight and losing weight and making money just because it's low-hanging fruit, but it's synonymous with anything that you want to achieve in your life. When you know you want to do something, but you're scared or you're frustrated or you're anything that comes up, then that is the conscious incompetence. Okay, so. I'm sorry, the conscious competence that you have to do it. Most people think, okay, well, I'm doing it now because I know I got to do it. But no, that's where we bail out, because that's where the pain is. And that's where you risk rejection. That's where you risk failure. That's where you risk all of those things. And our nervous system is designed to go the path of least resistance. And so when that stuff comes up, and then it's just like, oh, well, I'd rather do this. And we're not always conscious of it as well. It's not logical. It's emotional. It's psychologically based, but then it turns into an emotion, and that emotion goes fight or flight. Our sympathetic nervous system says, okay, well, wait a minute. This is something that if I do it, I will experience pain. So I'm not going to do it. I'll do something else.
And isn't it interesting how this, as I say, is a growth-based universe, not a comfort-based universe. And if we don't do the things that are uncomfortable, life becomes really, really painful. So how does one do that? And what is your process on this? I mean, you mentioned the toxic 10. I mean, I, for one, is going to listen to this podcast again. I'm going to pause it at the time you said it. I'm going to write down the 10, and I'm going to identify a list of my patterns and behavior against those 10. And I'm going to take the uncomfortable but necessary action to break through this, because I also know that I'm, some part human. So what's your thoughts on that?
Well, let me ask you this question. What is it about you that makes you say that I'm going to do that? What is the difference between you and other people who say they're going to do it? Now, I have no doubt that you will do it, because the nature of the person that you are, and what I know about you is you're one of these people that does stuff. But what is the difference between you and somebody else that says, I'm going to do it, but they don't do it? So I'm going to answer the question, but I'd like to pose that question to you so you can maybe ponder on it, as whoever's listening can go, okay, well, wait a minute. I want to do it when I say I'm going to do it, but what happens? What's the difference between me and somebody that does it?
I think this is the ultimate question. And I think it has to do with the comfort zone. I would say it has to do with the survival mind, the hindbrain, trying to get us out of discomfort. Once we know that, no one does an ice bath because it's comfortable. We do an ice bath because it works. So it's about recognizing that we are hardwired to get away from discomfort, so that we need to lean into discomfort. And when we do all the things that are uncomfortable, suddenly life becomes, I wouldn't say easier, but certainly a lot more flow. And so I do it because if I don't do it, I know that I suffer more. So I'd rather suffer deliberately and consciously through exercise and the things that we do. Fasting is a great one, so that then I know my life becomes magnificent. Because if I don't do it, I will suffer. That's my 2 cents worth. What are your thoughts?
First of all, I think you're spot on, and I would like to add to it, because when you do something, because if you don't do it, then you're going to experience pain. That's going to get you off the dime. You do it once or twice. That's called taking action. But taking action is not going to get you the result that you want, despite what we've all heard, that action is power and you got to take action. No, taking action is doing something once or twice or 5 times or whatever. And that is breaking through the pain and doing all that stuff. So, and you're going, if I don't do this, then I'm going to have the pain of this. The pain is always a short-term motivator, always. You know, I always, it's like this. Have you ever had too much alcohol to drink?
Yep.
Okay. And what did you say the next morning when you woke up and you felt like a mule was kicking in your head?
Classic. Oh, we're never going to drink again.
I'm never going to drink again. But did you drink again?
Yep.
Yeah. And
I quit drinking a long time ago, thank God.
Right. But the pain goes away, you see, because that's just the way nature is pain is, you know, we're going to have some pains. You're going to remember that you stuck your hand in the fire just for a little while. But then that pain is going to go away. But what's going to make you not stick your hand in the fire again is knowing that if you stay away from the fire, you're going to be fine. Okay. So when you see fire, you go, no, not that. Okay. You don't go, I'm not going to stick my hand in the fire because if I do, I'm going to burn.
Yeah.
You go
towards and away from motivation kind of thing, right?
Exactly. And that distinction right there is the key, because the answer I would say to you, to the question I asked you, is you're going that if I do the ice bath, or if I do the hard stuff now, then I get this, then I get that. And that small distinction is the difference between people who don't do something and people who do. In the moment, they're going, if I don't do this, or they go, if I do this, I'm going to get pain. But if I don't do it, I'm going to get pain. So it's pain either way. So what are they going to do? They're going to go eat cake. They're going to go, you know, doom scroll on their phone. They're going to Netflix. They're going to do whatever. Why? Because those things produce instant gratification and instant pleasure. It is the path of least resistance. And that's where most people live. And unfortunately, we live in a society right now where we have pleasure at our fingertips. We have release of fear and all that stuff at our fingertips. It's on our phone. It's all around us. Yeah. And so it's so much easier to go do that, but still inside, meaning that we want to do it. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I want to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it tomorrow. I want to. And then tomorrow comes and you didn't do it. And then you go, gosh, I'm such a loser. And then that feels bad. So what do? Scroll more, eat more, drink more, whatever. It's a vicious circle. So to answer your question about what you do about it is there are several processes. And in neuroencoding, by the way, neuroencoding is simply the process, because remember, it's process over knowledge. The processes, the strategies, the techniques to be able to change your psychology, meaning change how you think so that it changes how you feel, so that it changes what you do, but make it so that it becomes automatic. So the very thing that causes you to procrastinate is the thing that causes you to step up.
Yeah.
It is a very effective way of having something to do, because I always ask people, you know, I literally just got back from just a couple of days ago. We did the end of this world tour, if you will. We did London, Dublin, Germany, and Dubai. And all those places, I don't care where I go. And that was just that leg of it, because before then we did Australia twice. We did Singapore, Malaysia, and India, and all of those ones. And I don't care where I go in the world, it's always the same thing. I can ask the same question to everybody. What is your process? What is your methodology to get yourself to change how you think, so you change what you do, so you change what you get? And it's a blank, you know, for most people, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to write down my goals, or I'm going to get a coach and somebody that's going to hold me accountable. Those things work for a very few, small group of people. And then the smaller group of people, it works for that they will continue on. But most everybody, that's why gym memberships are so great at the beginning of the year. That's why they're up at the beginning of the year, because everybody wants to and everybody says they're going to, but they've got nothing that makes them default to step up and make it happen. So neuroencoding is the process. And I'll give you just a real simple explanation, if you will, of how this works. Everybody, every human being, when we get, and a lot of people call it mindset. And I like to move away from that, because mindset, it says that you have a set of thoughts, it depicts that you have a set of thoughts about a specific things, or you're set on thinking this way about that. But nobody ever has one set of thoughts. It's just like we're constantly bombarded with distractions and things like that. So to have to get back to that, that's very, very difficult. Rather, what you have is a psychology. And your psychology, in its simplest terms, are the thoughts that you have consciously and unconsciously about yourself, about other people, and about your existence, your world around you, your universe, your situation, circumstances. Those beliefs are what determine how you feel. And so one of the things that happens is when we get on a track of doing something, and let's just say we recognize, which is part of neuroencoding, is to really go in and find out what it is that stops people. Because people go, yeah, I procrastinate. Well, okay, it's not that you procrastinate, it's why you procrastinate. And what happens, it makes you, in that moment that you're procrastinating, if you don't do something about it, you're going to procrastinate again. So, and again, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but one of the things that we do is go in and find out the emotion and the psychology and the moment that is attached to when they procrastinate. Said differently, if you come into my office, when I was doing traditional therapy, not traditional therapy, I was doing fears and phobias and things like that. If you come into my office and you got a fear of dogs, take a guess what's going to be in my office. It's going to be a dog. And the reason being is because I want you fearful. I want that thing to come up in that moment so I can do something about it. Because traditionally, you'd come into my office, you lay on my couch, and we talk about, okay, well, what happened that made you this way, and how long has this happened, and what was the name of the dog today? And we talk it through, and eventually, you're going to get desensitized to those thoughts coming through, and through time, you're going to get over that. But for the most part, you come into my office, there's going to be a dog, and when that fear comes out, I'm going to interrupt that fear in that moment. And the example I like to use is this. We've all done something like this. We've all been sitting somewhere and we go, oh, I got to go in the kitchen and get an ink pen. And you stand up and you go in the kitchen, and there you are in the kitchen going, what the hell did I come in here for? Okay. In that moment, that's called a pattern interrupt. You're in a pattern of thought, focused on ink pen, your body is that way and everything. But as soon as you stand up, as soon as you move your body or something interrupts you, you create a scotoma. You create a blank spot in your mind. And that blank spot is very, very valuable because it's like a vacuum. And nature always wants to fill up a vacuum, always. And so if I can make that vacuum happen, if I can and have you experience the thing that you don't want to experience and then interrupt that pattern, then that vacuum is going to go, give me something. And I can put something in there. So it goes like this. I know this is, kind of jumping around a bit, but this is the strategy, the process of neuroencoding. And this is why myself and all of my students are unbelievably effective at what we do in terms of coaching. And that is this. Here's the formula. Feel bad on purpose. Make the dog show up, or whatever that represents in life. Cause yourself to feel bad. Number 2, interrupt that pattern so you create that scotoma. Number 3, feel good on purpose. In other words, put something else in there that feels good. It doesn't matter what it is, because it's better than the crap that you just got rid of. And then the last thing is, which is the thing that makes us go forward, is praise. Praise oneself. Give yourself acknowledgement. Hey, I did that. Because most people, let's forget about a lot of other stuff. Let's say somebody does go to the gym, or somebody does abstain from eating cake, or somebody does something that was uncomfortable. At the end of it, what do they usually do? They go, that was hard. Oh, wow, that was tough. Instead of going, hey, I did it, pat yourself on the back, and you get the dopamine release, the oxytocin, and the endorphin release that makes your nervous system go, hey, let's do it again. You do that enough times, that becomes a habit. And that's the carrot on a stick. That's the thing that unconsciously your brain goes, if I do this thing that's difficult, I get to have something called pleasure. And that's kind of the 90,000 foot view of what we do with neuroencoding, is to help people recognize what they want. Number 2, recognize what stops them. Number 3, interrupt that pattern or experience that. Number 4, interrupt that pattern. Number 5, fill it with something that works. And then number 6, praise, and then give them something to do so that they can work on it while you're not around.
Have you thought about getting neuroencoding out to the psychology institutions around the world and actually stop getting away from the victim story and rather start to recode?
Yeah, the answer is yes. And we are in the process of doing that, getting accredited. We actually have some accreditation so people can become certified in this and utilize it as that. And the answer is that it's only, and it's this iteration is we're entering our 4th year. And it is just I have a formal education. I have certifications in hypnotherapy and neuro-linguistic programming and neurosurgery, you name it, everything you could possibly imagine. I'm still learning, but I don't use all that stuff. So to answer your question, I've wanted to grow this company to where we can take on now thousands and thousands of people. We have 1,000 members now, actually plus, but I wanted to grow it to make sure, because the whole thing is this. We not only have, I say it's these 3 things. It's for coaches, mentors, teachers, trainers, speakers, and that kind of thing. Anybody who has the desire to help people, whether you already have some methodology or not. I would say a third of our students are already professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, and everything, and they take this on to lay on top of what they do. But most of them go, I don't know why I didn't do this. It's so much easier because I get results. So we grew it to the place that we can handle what we do, because the most important, I shouldn't say the most important thing, but one of the most important things is that, and it's this way, I'm not throwing anybody under the bus. I will say though, that whether it's my formal education or any of the certifications I always get handed a diploma or a certification or certificate or something. And then it's like, good luck, see ya. And there's no real support. So one of the things that we provide with the Institute here is ongoing live support, whether it's me or I have a team of trainers that train as well. So every other day there's a live call in different time zones. Everything is archived and everything is step by step. And I got to tell you, it is so ridiculously simple that most people go, I don't know why I didn't do this before, and anybody can do it.
This is so cool. I think this is a big reason why there's such a shift in humanity now. And it just reminds me of the imprint period. And I'll just put it in there, and I'll love your 2 cents worth on it. But because it seems that a lot of the thoughts, patterns, beliefs, indoctrinations, emotions, the way we perceive and receive reality starts from the first, say, 1 to 7 years of life. It's as if there's been a coding, right? There's been this coding that's been placed into the subconscious, and then from 7 and onwards, we are perceiving reality through these filters. And now comes neuro-recoding. Can you tell us a little bit about the imprint period, and potentially also what you see is happening now with younger ones being born without the same level of indoctrination that we've seen in the past?
That one I've just experienced lately in traveling around the world again, and now having a different filter, if you will, watching people. And I'll give you 2 examples. Somebody that's raised in the United States has a different set of imprinting than somebody that's raised in, let's say, Mumbai, India. Okay. Whereas in Mumbai, India, it's a caste system, and it's the haves and the have-nots. So if you don't have, then you are indoctrinated. You are taught at that, a very young age, this is who you are and this is who you will always be. Okay. And the converse of that is, if you are born into a wealthy family, then this is who you are, you deserve this, and this is who you are. Okay. Versus in the United States, it's still a different kind of thing. Whether it's the color of your skin, whether it is your heritage or whatever, we learn things about ourselves at a very young age that imprints our identity about our own self-worth. Very, very young. And I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to give you 2 really great examples. Studies show that by age 5 years old, an African-American child knows that he or she is not preferred. Knows it. Still. There's an experiment, and they just did it recently again, where they take, it's called, I encourage everybody to go on YouTube and look up the black baby doll experiment. If this doesn't choke you up, nothing will. And I'm only using this as an example, but it's across the board with everybody. No, it doesn't matter your color. We're all going to learn something. But this one is one of those things that it's epigenetics as well as it's put in front of our faces. Where they take these children. These children are from the ages of like 4 years old to 7 years old, and they take these children, black children first, and they put 2 baby dolls in front of them. One of the baby dolls is black, one of the baby dolls is white. And they ask the babies, they go, which one of these babies is good, right, and pretty? And all of them chose the white baby doll. They ask which one is wrong, bad, and ugly, and all of them chose the black baby doll. Now, where did that come from? So it comes from a couple places. I know it's a very sad thing. And by the way, they did the same thing with white children. They said, which one is good, pretty, and right? And they all chose the white baby doll. They said, which is wrong and bad and ugly? They all chose the black baby doll. So we've indoctrinated our children with this through media, through, all kinds of other things, whatever. We don't know. It's a combination of different things, of which there's as many combinations as there are grains of sand on the beach. Whatever it is, the end result is whatever it is. This is what we feel about ourselves. And we can spend our time going back and go, what happened to you? What happened to you? Or we can do something about it right now. And so that's one thing. There's also something else that feeds into that imprinting, and that is this, epigenetics. And epigenetics is really the study of how, it's one of the branches of epigenetics is the study of how the fears of the ancestors are handed down genetically into the offspring. And the example that they use, and I use this as well, is they use mice, for example, but it's synonymous with human beings because we have the same type of nervous system, where they take the mice and they introduce a smell to them. Let's say it's vanilla or cinnamon or whatever. And when they do, they shock the mouse. They give the mouse pain. Give them the smell, shock the mouse. Give them the smell, shock the mouse. So pretty soon, all they have to do is introduce the smell, and the animal goes into stress. Okay? And
it's an anchor.
Right. Now, they bred these mice 10, 12 generations later, where the babies never even saw and never even knew the ancestors and never even were anything around the ancestors. They introduced the smell of cinnamon or vanilla to them, and the animal goes into fear. So it's a survival mechanism, survival of the fittest, from caveman days. But the truth of the matter is, these are very real things. Now, again, I always like to preface this by saying these things are very real. And we can talk about those all day long, and we can talk about what's wrong all day long. And we can also go, okay, well, let's go in and start having a process to work on those things. And this is not disparaging any trauma therapy or any of those other, because everything is useful. Everything is useful. And I'm not here to say that neuroencoding is the only way to do it. I'm just saying that this is one methodology that is, especially when it comes to business. I always say this. We all want the same thing. We want to be wealthy. But wealthy means to be healthy, happy, and financially abundant, and all of the subsets underneath that.
Exactly.
So when it comes to those things, is a sign behind me, if you're not seeing it, it says further, faster. You want what you want sooner rather than later. The answer is yes. That's called further, faster.
Oh, I love this. Okay, so we have these old imprints, we have these old beliefs, but it also looks like to me that humanity is, call it awakening. We're beginning to remember that there's more to us than just flesh and bone. We're seeing major changes in the world, and some are calling it the Great Awakening, and some are calling it different things. I'd love your 2 cents worth on this, because I think the old age is kind of dying away or disappearing. I know for me, like, I'm born and raised in Norway, and neither of my parents had even heard about personal development, self-development, and none of these methodologies that, one of which is yours, another one is mine, and there's different ones. That was completely new to me. I came to Australia in 2005, and I'm like, wow, people speaking on stage. They have some amazing things to say. I want to learn more. And I just dived into this brand new world. What are your thoughts on what's happening collectively?
I think collectively, personally, we'll use the term personal development, and I'll tell you what I mean by personal development here in a moment. But I think it is running neck and neck with religion now, because just like you just said, hey, that's interesting. What is that all about? Religion has been the thing that let's just say is the moral barometer for a lot of people. It keeps us doing the right thing. It keeps us being kind to others. It keeps us, from harming others and harming ourselves and things like that. That has always been religion. Well, I'm not disparaging religion. I'm just saying that now a lot of people are going, okay, wait a minute. It's not that I'm pushing my religion away. Here's another way that I can deal with some of the things that are really going on in my life that are more current, if you will.
Yeah, I can do something about it. I don't have to wait for a savior.
Exactly. So prayer, in religion, prayer is predominant, right?
How?
And it's powerful, and we know it's powerful and everything, and it's not instant results. It's not something that you can pray and something's going to show up tomorrow necessarily. So there's a lot of faith that you have to have. Faith is the belief in things not yet materialized, right? You think they're going to. But we've all had situations where we wanted something and it didn't happen. So if you supply and give people something where you can do something right now that's going to change how you think, which is going to change how you feel, which is going to change what you do, which is going to change what you get, and you can practice that and you can learn it, and you can be more effective, and you'll start to mitigate those toxic 10.
Toxic 10. This is powerful. I love it. Okay, I've got a couple more questions for you because I want to let you go. I want to keep you forever, but I also want to let you go because it's your birthday today. So let's do this short, sharp, and straight to the point. Okay, if you're observing the world and its change at the moment, you've got your tools and you've got your techniques, what are some of the things that you're focusing on now moving forward for yourself and for your business and for your brand and et cetera? What are some key focus points for you?
Awareness. Yeah, making people aware that they can do something about their current situation, whatever it is, that they can do something. Look, I love my country. And I've always loved my country. And we just had an election. I won't go into that. I just, I study a lot and I research a lot. It's almost 73% of our population is overweight and borderline obese right now.
And 50% is pre-diabetic, I read the other day.
Yeah, pre-diabetic, yeah, you know that. Insane. And so, those people, most of them feel like I'm helpless. I can't do anything about it. I don't know. And they're not even thinking about it. So to be able to help people become aware, they're aware that they're unhealthy. They know that, but aware that they can do something about it. Awareness is always the first thing. So that's where my focus is. And it's a fine line because you can insult somebody by saying, hey, you need to really take a look at that if you don't. So part of the methodology in neuroencoding is to be able to enter somebody else's world and have them come up with the awareness, not you. Because if I tell you something, you might believe me. But if you tell you something, then you will believe you. So through the process, neuroencoding is a series of questions, oftentimes very specific questions, to get people to come up with those answers themselves and go, well, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. Because if you ask most people what they want, they go, I don't want to be fat anymore. I don't want to be broke anymore. I don't want to be depressed anymore. I don't want this. And that's just like going, like I said to you before, if I don't do this, I'm going to get pain.
Yeah. Makes sense. What do you wish you knew 50 years ago?
Simple. I wish I would have known to rehearse, practice, and master the skill of snapping out of it quicker.
Thank you. I would like you to rub this in. What does that mean when you're stinking thinking you're stuck in the rut? How do you get out of it?
Exactly. How to get out of it. And it can be sometimes just as simple as standing up and shaking your body out. Because we go down this path, we get in this rabbit hole of worry and stress and overwhelm and self-beating and all those things. And and then that coupled with all of the distractions that takes away from us, instead of realizing that, wait a minute, I can do something about how I feel. And I can condition myself so that I default to that I step up for something. I'll give you another example. One of the things that we teach in the Institute is something called the stop technique, which is a way of snapping out of it, if you will, but not just snap.
Stop it? Yeah. Stop it? Is that the stop it? Just stop it?
No. It's a little more detailed than that, but it is a way of doing those things like I said, feel bad, interrupt the pattern, feel good, and celebrate. But I've done it a lot, okay? And I'm human, by the way, contrary to popular belief. And what that means is I go through stuff as well. But hear this, everybody that's listening. There are no fearless people, period, end of story. Everybody has fear, self included. And there are people who fear less. And what that means is that it's not the quantity of fear, although that mitigates as well through time. It is the duration, the amount of time that you spend being fearful. So when fear shows up in your life, you automatically default to going, hey, well, wait a minute, that's just this, that's just that kind of thing, okay? And I'll give you an example right now. We're in it right now. We just elected a new president yesterday, okay? And there are people that are out there that are depressed, suicidal, that are going through it, that are just, they don't know what to do. And they have no way of snapping out of it. So they're going to drink alcohol. They're going to do all these things. They're going to do all the things that are not conducive of just going, wait a minute, here's how things are, because there's always three questions. Here's how things are. Here's the truth. Is the truth. That's number one. Number two, what do I want? Okay. Oh, okay. I want to be safe. I want to be whatever. Because as soon as you start thinking that, and you've interrupted that pattern of going, okay, here's the truth. Instead of going, like for example, the example I always like to use is like, you have a flat tire, okay? You can go, oh crap, I'm going to be late for work, and this always happens to me, and why do I have to do this? Now I'm going to have to spend the money. Or you can go, I had a flat tire, let me change it. Which one's going to get you there quicker? And it sounds a bit insensitive, but I will tell you, that is where you fear less. That's where you start to get the solutions, and you start to become what I call optimistic. And optimistic doesn't mean that every cloud has a silver lining or every glass is half full. Optimistic means that you observe that you have more options, other options to do. And when you start to do that, and you start to practice that, then that becomes your default.
Oh, boom. Breaking the pattern. I love this. The old... not the old saying, I should say the hypotheses or the science behind living in a beautiful state. So we hear it, there's two states. You've got the fearful state, which is contraction and darkness and stress and pain and whatever. And then you have love, fear and love, contraction, expansion, darkness, light, the old dichotomy of the human experience. So we say we should live in a beautiful state. Some say all the time, some say most of the time. I just wonder, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, we've now discussed how to break the pattern, moving the body, the focus, physiology, and language stuff. We know metaphorically, we've kind of discussed that somewhat, but I want to know your thoughts. Is it possible to live in a beautiful state all the time or most of the time?
No.
I agree with you. Can you share that, please?
I would say that you can condition yourself so you live in there most of the time. But life is, you see that that squiggly line behind me, that's there because that's life. It's up and down. It's up and down. You're going to be hit with stuff, all the time. So you're not in a beautiful state when somebody comes along and, runs into your car or, breaks into your car or something like that. You're not there. You can condition yourself so that when that stuff happens, you don't stay there that long. Yeah. So I think it's just like meditation. I think it's a practice so that you tend to be there more often than not. And you tend to default to that quicker.
And also potentially see the benefits of how it's happening for you rather than to you. I mean, when you're changing the tires, like you could be pissed off, as you said, or you can go, okay, what is this trying to teach me? What is this showing me? What are some of the questions or the focus points that you have when you experience challenges?
Optimism. My questions are, okay, what else could I do? Optimism. What else is possible? What else could this mean? What else could this mean that is going to benefit me? What story am I going to be able to tell about this later? I'll give you a perfect example. It's been about 2 months ago. There was a huge airport delay. One of the computers went down and the airports around the country went down. I had a flight at 7 a.m. in the morning. When I left my house to go to the airport, I got the email. They said the flight was still on. By the time I got there, and I left the house at like 5:30 because I had to drive up to Los Angeles, the flight was canceled, okay? Now, when I got there, there were thousands of people. It was at LAX, thousands of people whose flights were canceled and things, and they were losing it. They were just losing it. People were yelling at the attendants and things like that. And for me, I got there. Now, I'm not going to say I wasn't disappointed. I got there and I had to get there. I had a speaking gig to do that day, okay? And that's why I was leaving so early. And I sat there for a second and I looked at everybody going around and my brain went, okay, what are my other options? Get out of that situation, walk outside, get on my phone, call my assistant, and let's find another flight. Let's find another alternative. And long story short, I got out of there. I got a flight. I wound up having to stay in the airport for a long time and getting around. And so my ability to do that versus lose my stuff, and go crazy about it and get angry was a result of the practice that I have to default myself.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay, I've got one last question for you, sir, straight off the cuff. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, actually, two last questions. One, when are you coming to Australia next, and where can people learn more about your work?
That's a great question. If you go to a place called Success Resources and look up, I'm doing an event with one of my mentors for a long time. I've known him for a long time, Deepak Chopra. We're doing an event there, and then I'm coming back and doing my event called the A Factor. Matter of fact, if you go to my either Instagram, which is I am Joseph McClendon, or you go to josephmcclendon.com, or you go to neuro-encoding.com, you'll be able to find that stuff there.
And then in the new year as well, in 2025, or whenever you guys are listening to this interview, go and look up Joseph McClendon's website, josephmcclendon.com, or Neuroencoding, ENCODIEDING.com. And then check that out. And obviously, you mentioned Success Resources and some of the touring that you're doing. So go check out Joseph McClendon, mate. I've seen you speak multiple times. Every time I've had grand transformation. This conversation has been nothing less. We're going to make sure that this comes out to as many people as possible, and really, really grateful for your work and taking the time out on your birthday too, mate, to celebrate here with us. I've got one last question for you. Ready?
Yes.
Here's the question. I want you to imagine now that the entire Earth, every sentient being on the planet has gathered. They're tuning in, they're watching, they're listening, they're fully present with your message to the world. Take a breath, and whenever you're ready to share, Joseph, please, what is your message to the world right now?
That life is always exactly what you dare to make it. And fortune favors the bold. And so the trick to life is to learn the process of boldly stepping up and daring to make your life magnificent. And magnificence is magnifying the essence of who you already are. I know that was more than 2 cents. That was 20 cents. All right. So
that was absolutely perfect. Joseph McClendon III, everybody. Thank you so much, and happy birthday, brother.
Thank you, my friend. God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon.
God bless you. See you in Australia or whenever next. Take care.
Bye-bye.